pulled over to first. Pujols flips around to Ibar for one. No relay back. The throw to third base and safe at third.
Looks like Richards may have gotten hurt.
When you think back to that night, what's the memory that's most vivid to you still?
Just kind of laying on the ground and seeing everybody hovering over me. From being on the field to when they carted me off through the concourse and people looking over the top of me. I think that was just kind of like a weird, surreal, weird moment. So I think I'll always remember that. It was just, it was weird. It was kind of like a movie.
Have you watched the video from that night?
I've watched the video a couple of times. To be honest with you, it's not more of like a gruesome thing for me. It's more of a, wow, that's super unathletic. I mean, it looks like I don't belong anywhere on a sports field, period. So for me, it's a little bit more embarrassing than it is gross. But it is also gross too. So
At what point were you able to bring yourself to watch that?
I think I watched it that night. As soon as it was kind of going on the TV, I wanted to see what it looked like, and I wanted to see kind of where it went wrong, because from my perspective, I was running one minute and I was on the ground the next. But to kind of see it reenacted and stuff, I could see where it went wrong.
Can you describe what that pain was like, what you felt?
I grabbed my knee thinking that, I initially thought that there was a bone sticking through my leg. I didn't know that it was my kneecap, but I definitely felt a lump on the top of my leg that shouldn't be there. And so it was kind of more of like in shock and not really knowing what's going on. But my initial thought was, I've got something sticking out of my leg.
There's not really much precedent for an injury like this, a ruptured patella tendon for a pitcher.
In baseball, there's not, but there is precedence in other sports, football and basketball. So we put our heads together, and we all just did some research, kind of looking at trying to apply some of the past principles that have been used in rehab for patella tendon ruptures, which are out there and they're documented. But then, putting it into a baseball player situation, not just a baseball player, but a pitcher.
You've never had a rehab like this, right? Like, you've never really had a serious injury.
This is my first surgery.
Did this go, like, looking back, did it go fast? Did it take forever?
I feel like some parts of it, like I said, man, you got to go about this day by day, week by week, progression by progression.
This will look a little thicker till it's fully, as it gets more mature, it just constricts itself down, so it'll look less and less more prominent or less prominent than it does right now, but looks good.
There's no pain or anything pushing on it.
Yeah, the main thing is that,
I'm thinking the quad.
We're getting your quad. Go ahead and tighten up for me here. Getting the quad starting. We want to get this functioning a little bit more, but it's definitely coming back very nice.
Well, it's not jello anymore.
Mm-hmm. When you're immobilized, especially after trauma, the muscle had just atrophied. So we wanted to start facilitating and activating the muscle, getting some circulation, blood flow into that to get the muscles around the knee, working. So that was priority one, and that's kind of was our beginning point, was work on range of motion and just activate the muscles at that point.
What were some of the more important rehab exercises that you needed him to be able to complete early on in the process?
Movement was his most important thing, working the joint from the inside, making sure the joint moved correctly, like the transmission of a car has to move for the wheels to turn. But as we're gaining motion, he's using it. And the important thing, I think that's where the pool, that early rehab comes in really handy, because we can put them in a de-weighted environment and have them do a lot of motion. And it provides a little of a comfort. The water's kind of like a blanket. It takes away that apprehension of movement sometimes, especially after surgery. So we started him mimicking kind of just walking functional movements from day one. Knee bending, knee straightening, and repetitions. And Garrett, don't you think this kind of helps your knee a lot when you started bending and straightening?
This was great, because I could be not restrained, and it took the weight off me moving around.
Yeah, those were two things that we were focused on, was activating the quad, getting that working again, connecting that, neuromuscular-wise as well as just activation-wise. And then while we continue to work on his motion. This is just good balance, proprioception, just retraining kind of that whole connection. We call it kinesthetic awareness, receptors that tell you kind of where you're at. So then he'll know where his knee position is, hopefully without having to look at his knee and say, okay, it's right here. This is a lot harder than it looks. It's just like having cowboy boots on ice. Well, he's making it look easy, so that's good.
The funnest part about rehab, definitely getting on the treadmill. I think getting on the treadmill is like, the next to the last thing before you're ready to go.
So the anti-gravity treadmill is really a key, taking them from partial weight bearing. And what it does is a rapid weight loss type device. So we can take their body weight and it calibrates how much they weigh. And then we can program in a percentage of that we want them to tolerate or put on the knee at that point. And then over time, give them more and more, so we just program it in. So we're building increased tolerance to their own body weight.
You were talking to me earlier about how good your arm felt that first time that you played catch again. Can you just talk about what that feeling was like?
I've never taken 3 months off like that before from throwing. You know, it's usually, you know, the season ends in September, October. Take 2 months off and then start playing catch in December. So, you know, I wasn't sure how it was going to feel, but it definitely surprised me. I mean, it definitely feels fresh now. I would definitely say my lower half right now going into camp would be a lot stronger than it has in the past. I mean, I've been doing lower body 5 days a week now. I mean, I've been in here 5 days a week just killing it, man.
When you were going through this process, was opening day that target for you, that thing that you used as something to kind of strive for in this?
I think opening day was the target since day one. I mean, I can still remember being on the table in Fenway and the doctors looking at me and them letting me know that, you know, it's a 6 to 8 month recovery. And I think when I heard the word 6 months, I kind of instantly thought, hey, opening day could be a real possibility. So that's kind of been my target since day one.
If I had to put in his, you know, prognosis, I would say excellent. And hopefully during this time he's able to work on some other things that he may not have had an opportunity-wise to maybe fine-tune and strengthen some other parts of his body that are important for throwing, you know, shoulder, elbow. And maybe in the long run it'll benefit him.
How confident are you that you could be the guy that you were?
I don't see why I couldn't. You know, I learned a lot last year. You know, I'm continuing to learn. Physically, I feel almost 100% with the exception of the knee. My arm feels good. I mean, I know what I do well. I kind of know what kind of pitcher I am now and what I bring to the table and my game plan. And so I'm going to take it, you know, one step at a time as far as this goes. And then once I'm back on the mound, I'm just going back into my game mode.